topic that we're going to talk about today is something that is on everybody's mind, whether you're in Thailand or abroad, and that is what is the next direction for tourism, and in particular, tourism here in Thailand. What are the new tourist behaviors? What are the trends that we're expecting after COVID-19? What is next for the travel industry? And today, we're very lucky indeed, as of course, we have a variety of different speakers that are going to join me. And I'm very happy indeed, as the global content editor of Techsauce Media, to be having that opportunity to talk to them. And with me, we have Kun Timothy Hughes, the Vice President of Corporate Development of Agoda, which is a very, of course, well-known online travel agency and meta search engine for hotels, vacation rentals, flights, and airport transfer. We also have Kun Dwang Kwan Sin Satayakun, the Territory Manager of Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, for Airbnb, which is an online marketplace for lodging, primarily for homestays, for vacation rentals, and tourism activities. We also have Kun Paripat Yejere, the Managing Director, MEAP of the Standard Hotels, which is a very well-known boutique hotel chain, whether you're in Los Angeles, New York City, Miami Beach, Maldives. Now they're going to come to Thailand, so we're very excited to hear from him, as well as Kun Paisit Gendan, the founder and principal and hospitality advisory service, who has been well known in the industry for giving great consultation with his 18 years experience. So let's say hello to all of them. Hello, Sadika. Hello. Timothy, I have to ask you the first question. As Agoda, how has the situation for COVID-19, impacted you as being a very big marketplace for travel?
Here we are on a sort of a technology platform, but we have to acknowledge how human this experience has been. If I think back to April and May last year at the height of the COVID crisis, when the world was basically locked down, the travel industry stopped to zero, maybe even negative. Cancellations, we were a negative industry. I mean, how many times in our lifetimes have we seen an industry go to negative? People lost their jobs, businesses were shut down. It was horrific, it was awful. And so I think we need to acknowledge that, particularly for the lots of people in Thailand who lost their jobs and who are sort of trying to rebound. That's the horror of what happened. The good news is, if we can call it good news, is that every time travel was given a chance, every time something was unlocked or a restriction was eased or COVID stepped away, travel rebounded instantly. So we'd go from zero to peak demand overnight as Thais would take the chance to go on weekend breaks. And we've seen this not just in the kingdom, we've seen this all around the world. And we're seeing it now as the Delta strain starts to fade, hopefully. And we've seen this now as markets start to open up, that we still have to look back at the real pain of April and May last year and the real losses in the industry. But we have learnt that travel is unstoppable, that it has survived this test. It's taken this hit and it has bounced back. There's still more to do, and then we can talk about that over the panel. There's still a lot we have to build on, but we can take a lot of hope from the data, not just the visions, but the data that shows us the unstoppable nature of travel. So yeah, I'll never forget last year. I'll never forget 2021 either. And I'll always remember the people who have lost their jobs and suffered the human casualty, but I'll also remember the unstoppable nature of travel that was proven through this crisis.
I think that many of us here in our chat agree with you, and I want our conversation today to be very useful for not only the viewers, but for all of us here to share our experiences. And I think it's a time that we do need it more than ever. So I'm going to open the floor of the same question to the other people in our group. Feel free if you want to say something. I don't know if Kun Dwang Kwan is ready to ask this, but for me to ask this question, but I really do want to know how Airbnb has been doing, especially since prior to COVID-19, Airbnb was seen as one at its prime, you could say, right? With everyone using your services. How was it like during COVID?
Well, thank you, Kun Pupe, and thanks for having me today. And Kun Timothy mentioned about 2020 has been a very unprecedented moment for everyone, including Airbnb. And we know that while travel was great, has been greatly impacted, but the human desire to travel hasn't changed, right? And I think what Audi has shared was one of the testament to that. But we are seeing a new trends during the pandemic. In Thailand, Thai people are longing for more meaningful travel and unique experiences, and the ability and the flexibility to work and live anywhere. We ran a YouGov polling earlier this year, and almost 90% of the Thai respondents state that they would like to work, to live, and to travel differently if they had more flexibility at work. And yeah, so I think like many of us here, right? I believe that many of us who are watching us live today have been working from somewhere else beyond their home and offices in the past 2 years. Yeah, and for us, from the business standpoint, at Airbnb, we learned two important lessons. The first lesson is the business should not be afraid to adapt and innovate. And the second lesson is the second lesson is the importance of listening and connecting. So we learned that the business that will win is the business that are quick to innovate. So for instance, more than 40% of searches on Airbnb in April alone this year were flexible in terms of the location and the travel date. And as a result of that, in May this year, we launched the flexibility features for those who were more flexible to travel when they want to travel, and finding a unique place to stay is more important than traveling to a specific location. And I have to say that, as we know, travel that we used to know is over, and the line between traveling, living, and working has become blurred. And that's the new trend that we have observed over the pandemic.
That's amazing. I think from my research for this talk, that's what I was a bit surprised a bit, but not so surprised at the same time, because life has changed, your perspective has changed. Kun Paisit, I just want to get your point of view on this trend and whether you agree with it coming from a consultancy point of view. What do you think?
Right. I think I do have agreed. I have do have agree with the questionnaire from Airbnb that right now the traveling, leisures, and workings might become blurs, and people might have more chance. So what many projects that I'm working on right now, when they want to build the hotel, there are certain requirements that add on into the specification of the room. Let's say that we turn away from the kitchen hood hop sink for quite some time. We think it's very expensive, and right now many new travelers, even though that we have not opened the country yet, but even for Thais traveling domestically, when we travel to the other provinces, we want to cook ourselves. We not only want to buy street food, but we want to warm the food ourselves. We want to cook something. So there are certain needs, that people want to maybe warm their food, cook their food in their room. So there are certain needs, for the room specification to be built. There are more places in the room that people want to, just like what we are right now, want to have chat between friends, want to share ideas, want to communicate with your colleagues, through Zooms or Microsoft Exchange, so we need certain background, we need certain lighting, so these are the new requirements. So in the same room, in the same home, in the same places, people might need to do all things together. So, new places, new destination, people want to work from Pattaya, maybe want to work from Rayong. They can still send their work to their boss, from Samui, with people, they can explain the presentation to their work, to their boss, out of this presentation. So there are many behavior that has been changed during these 2 years. There are certain requirements that have been added. There are new things, that people have to explore, and maybe the old hotel have to change. the new hotels that going to be built right now have to rethink about what will be the real needs for the for after this COVID.
Yeah, yes, definitely. Your average hotel room is not going to look the same. It's, I guess, a fusion. Yes, Tim.
Because I agree a lot that we have seen change, but I also agree that a lot of the human travel condition hasn't changed. Like a lot of the recovery demand we're seeing is people who want to sit by a pool and drink a pina colada staring at the beach. So I don't think we should discount that though humans do want to discover new things, and I do think there is a change going on in work, business, life balance. We are seeing a huge amount of people who just want to get back to sitting in the mountains, looking at the view, sitting on a beach, drinking a pina colada. And we shouldn't discount that. In fact, opposite. We should be chasing that business because it is there.
Yeah, definitely. I do want kind of like a change of, I'm sure I would want to have a vacation, right? Not a work vacation. And so my question will now be going towards Kun Boripat, because the Standard Hotel has exciting news that they're going to be working on projects here in Thailand. So of course, then the question is, what is going to be new with your project? What are you expecting to create here in the kingdom? And why have you decided to come to Thailand at this time?
Thank you. So before I answer that question, thank you for having me. I want to echo what Kun Timothy said, because that really resonated with me. As someone who are operating hotels around the world, these past almost 2 years now have been full of ups and downs. We've done, before I came, I moved back to Thailand a year ago. Before that, I was in New York operating a hotel at the very peak of the pandemic, when New York was the epicenter for the entire world, in fact. So we've done anything from shutting hotels, reopening it, laying off, recruiting people. But one thing we are seeing, and this is, I think, something that I'm very happy to hear, is once everything comes back, once vaccination's been rolled out, once travel restrictions have been lifted, demand rebounds and rebounds quickly. And we have seen real results in our properties in the UK, in New York. Some of our property are experiencing better performances now than even before COVID, because even though certain behavior of the traveler may change, the core kind of needs to just get out, experiences new things. And as you said, sitting by the beach somewhere having a pina colada, that still remains. So I think that's why, I think us coming to Thailand is a no-brainer, really. I think, Thailand, one of the top destinations in the world, both for leisure and also for business. And I think that's why we're opening 2 properties shortly, starting with the Standard Hua Hin, which will open just on the 1st of December, so just a few weeks from now. And also our flagship in Asia, the Standard Bangkok Mahanakhon. And I think we have room to grow quite a few more destinations across the country.
I wanted to ask a little bit more about that. That's exciting, because Hua Hin and Bangkok are definitely prime areas, especially for the domestic market. Actually, Bangkok would be also for international travelers as well. Are there going to be changes in the way that your rooms are created, or the space that is created, as referring to what Kun Paisit just said, that people are expecting something else that we've not seen in the past?
There's certain that changes for sure, right? But I think the core kind of physical kind of makeup of the hotel does not change too much. We obviously have a lot of kind of safety and hygiene measure in place, but at the end of the day, the core needs of the traveler haven't really changed much once it rebounds. People are still traveling for business. People still look for efficiency. People still look for a great place to eat, to congregate, to socialize. So I think the core physical property would not change much, in my opinion. But I think the way we serve the client, the way we operate, would definitely have to change.
Okay, now going back to Kun Paisit here, in terms of the insights that you've had, you've given a little bit about what you're seeing, but in terms of traveler behavior as such, what are we seeing right now? What do travelers want? In addition to what you just said.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, I think in the field, let's say the next 3 to 5 years, and the trend right now is it's most of the traveler will looking for smaller size of the hotel. Will be afraid of 500 room hotels because of there would be a collection of maybe non-hygiene, maybe people from somewhere else that they cannot control, so they prefer to stay in the smaller size of the hotel. They prefer to stay in the hotel that they know about the brand standard, about the hygiene. They prefer the brand that they know that those brand will be definitely deliver something that they are looking for. There are definitely inside the room there will be certain new demand. The area for working, area for cooking, small kitchen will be needed. And I have to say sorry to the area that people maybe try to get away from. It's the hostel that maybe there are so many people that go to hostel, that's they do not know how to control maybe the hygiene. So the average person, most of the traveler maybe try to looking for a good deal from the hotels that we can see from the social media right now, that everyone offering the very, very attractive price, attractive package. And so these are the more trend that people are looking for right now. So if someone come to me and ask they want to build a hotel, I will definitely recommend to build smaller hotel more than try to build 300, 400, 500 room hotels and try to have a lot of business, because of right now people are maybe still scared of these pandemics or the situation that they cannot control certain hygiene. They prefer to stay in a smaller size hotel, more hygiene, and somebody that have branded that they know and they believe in.
Well, definitely hearing this, I think about Airbnb. But before I ask Kun Dong Kwan, I want to ask Kun Timothy about, do you agree? Do you see that, the data that you have at hand right now on your platform, do you see that trend going towards smaller hotels, or are we seeing still that, the big chains are still successful?
We're seeing a slightly different take on the data. The take that we're seeing is that consumers are desperate to get away, right? So they're desperate to go. They're desperate for quality, right? They really do want a break. So we are seeing a shift up in a star category of our bookings. And a lot of that's being driven by price. 5-star hotels tend to be a little bit cheaper now than they were before. But a lot of it's also being driven by the consumer's desire to genuinely get away. I have to get out of Bangkok. I have to get out of KL. I've got to get out of Ho Chi Minh. They're just desperate to get out of the capital city that they're in. And we're seeing this all around the world. And the big driver, the big thing they need, in addition to that, I agree completely about the safety messaging, is they need flexibility. They're terrified. Every traveler was sitting on some sort of booking that they had to cancel, and they got a coupon or a voucher, or sometimes they lost money. So they're looking for flexibility, looking for the chance to have a get-out card in case something goes wrong. So we've seen a lot of the hotels have to build in and work with us on flexibility. But the biggest thing we're seeing is the desire to get out and have an experience. And I think that's overwhelming. I agree. Some of that desire goes to smaller hotels and niche experiences. Some of that desire goes to, I want a villa in the mountains, or a villa on the beach. But some of it is just going to old-fashioned 5-star, 4-star, by the pool in the mountains. So we're seeing it always. I
agree with that more.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to have the standard come to Bangkok. This is going to be thrilling. But the thing, there is an instant reaction to restriction, right? The reaction of the consumer to restriction is instantaneous. When the restriction is turned on, the demand goes up. When the restriction is turned off, demand goes up. When it's turned on, it goes down. So any market that has some restriction, East Asia have restrictions, is held back versus those that don't. Now, we have to be careful. No one wants COVID to run rampant. No one wants outbreaks and put us back in lockdown. But we have to acknowledge that the existence of restrictions holds back a market compared to those that don't. And the governments and the industry have to be planning on what can we do to remove them. Overnight or a few hours in a hotel doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a huge handbrake on the demand. And so we have to figure out a path to remove restrictions safely, of course, because that is the number one thing that's going to drive demand.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think for people who are listening, who not been following the trends of the hotel industry, might be shocked to know that people are willing to splurge.
Yes.
A lot of people may think, oh, the economy is bad,
Yes.
people don't want to spend, but actually, people. I've read the Hilton survey where there might be fewer trips, but those trips that people take will be very luxurious or very special to them because they want to make every minute count.
Especially the big source markets for Thailand, outside China. China's a whole different story we could talk about for a whole different day. But the big markets, Australia, Europe, America, Korea, Japan, sat on money for the last 18 months, have been saving their money for the last 18 months, sitting on, if you look at the statistical data, on the massive amount of savings accrued in the bank accounts of people because they had nothing to spend it on. They are desperate to spend it. So when they can get to Thailand, they are going to spend up big. We've just got to find a way to safely let them come to Thailand.
Now, Kun Dong Kwan, I told you, I kind of foretold you that I was going to ask you this question after what Kun Paisit just said. Obviously, the question now is, how has COVID-19 impacted the hosts and the visitors or the people going and using Airbnb services, especially in terms of people who might be more concerned now about hygiene, more concerned now about where they're going to be staying and whether or not there's a standard kept.
Okay. I think first of all, before I get into the safety standard that we have put in place, I really want to comment on the insights that Kun Paisit has shared about the guest behavior that has changed. So what we have seen globally and also predominantly in Thailand as well, the trends that we have observed is, like just now I mentioned, is flexibility, the ability to work and live anywhere, which is like remote working. The second one is a long-term stay. More than 50% of nights booked in Thailand in the month of September is long-term stay, which is like more than 28 days. So these represent the fact that people are more flexible to travel and to work at the same time. And the other thing is that so we ran the YouGov polling earlier this year, and more than 90% of Thai people have stated that they are looking for meaningful travel experiences, somewhere that is like in the less crowded place. And coming back to the safety, and safety is the most important and at the core of Airbnb. And this last year, we rolled out what we call an enhanced cleaning protocol. It's the guideline that was built according to the WHO sanitization and cleaning guideline. And I'm proud to say that it's actually the first standardized cleaning and sanitization for short-term rental accommodation. And we are not only following the guideline from the WHO, we also seek the consultation from the local expert as well. Like in Thailand, this enhanced cleaning protocol was endorsed by the Ministry of Public Health and also in consultation with the Dr. Vipakasit from the faculty of Mahidol University and Sirirat Hospital as well.
Okay, well, now in terms of, I know that you've been working and I think people are probably interested in what Airbnb has been doing. You've talked about how you've worked more about experience. And I did write a lot about, Airbnb prior to COVID-19. And there was a sort of a trend going towards experience, going towards, having another way of traveling. Has that changed? Or how has it, been in terms of how COVID has hit us right now?
Thanks for the question. Actually, not and I can tell that like you understand Airbnb platform quite well, Kun Pupe. So Airbnb has the two main products. The first one is the stay, where the host lists their unique place for the guests to stay. And the other business is our experiences that was launched a few years back. And going back to what I mentioned earlier, that the business will have a higher chance to win if you listen and connect to those who matter to you. And in our case, our host. So 2 months in the pandemic, Airbnb as a company made a hard decision to temporarily pause in-person experiences for health and safety reasons. And after that decision, we conducted a lot of host listening sessions around the world, including the one in Thailand as well. And we heard from our hosts that they still want to host. They want to offer an online experiences. And so that online experiences product was built within 14 days to accommodate that. And in Thailand, we are lucky that we have partnered with the community development department to help the local communities like the Thai Dam village in Leh province to help the host to continue to showcasing the beauty of the local culture to the world with online experiences product over Zoom technology and from their mobile phone.
Okay, well, I wanted to just follow up a little bit in terms of experience. Then, I'd like to ask the hotel operator in opposition of Airbnb, of course, that is Kun Boripat here. With your new projects, are you seeing also an additional way of providing more services for people who are traveling to get more from just staying at a hotel?
Yeah, for sure. I think even before the COVID happened, I think most of my panelists will agree. When people travel, they look more for experiences, and that has always been the core of our brand. Just a nice, beautiful destination alone, that is table stakes nowadays. They look for, culinary experiences. They look for special design and art and, special activities for them to do. And that has always been at the core of our brand. So I think we're very excited to bring that to the region. I think the region is ripe for, two different kind of lifestyle product. And we always strive to give people once in a lifetime experiences wherever they go. So that is still the case. I think people still look for experiences. The way we deliver them in a safe and hygienic way, I think that's what is happening right now. But I think, over time, this trend will still continue.
Okay, well, we just mentioned about technology, right? How the Airbnb actually utilized technology to connect with travelers. Timothy, how has Agoda been using technology to support and help the industry grow, in this new normal era? And have you seen any differences between the chain and non-chain hotels in how they've used technology?
So obviously the biggest step change in technology that happened during COVID is the entire world, Southeast Asia, Thailand, went through what I'm calling a digital boot camp. And that every consumer was trained on digital. We went to living a digital life and a non-digital life to being everything digital. We consumed television content, food, movies, everything was digital. And so we have seen a step change in the use of the phone in booking travel during this crisis in every market in the world. And that's being led by Asia. So the phone is now clearly the biggest place in which travel is being booked. And that changes a lot. Like it changes images, those fabulous sort of hero shots of the hotel or the destination from way up high, on the beach, don't really work on the phone because it's too far away, right? And the long descriptive text and content doesn't work on the phone. So we've seen a lot of the change that has to happen to just the way we describe destinations has been driven by the technological step change in the use of mobile. We've also had to change a lot of how we communicate with hotels because everything became instantaneous, especially during that horrible cancellation periods of April and May last year. And we had to communicate as often as we could. So we've done work in chat on the two-way communications with hotels, staying up to date with hotels. That's been an important development in technology as well. I think we've got a lot more to do on that. And the last one we've all talked about is this content piece, particularly around safety. How are we going to validate and ensure that we are, in the case of Thailand, recognizing the SHA plus status of hotels and just generally communicating the cleanliness of hotels. So there's been a lot of work to do there. But I think there's also a lot more to do. I want there to be a smoother handover between the booking sites like ours and the chain or non-chain properties. I think we could do a lot more to connect that story so that when we're sending bookers to hotels, they know a lot more about what that booker is looking for and what on-property experience they can get. So I think that's an area of excitement. But the number one impact that COVID has had from a technological perspective on the world has lifted mobile even more and made a step change in the consumer's use of the phone.
If I may add to that, I completely agree with that. And that obviously changed the messaging and the content and how we communicate with the consumer as well. When it's a lot more mobile focused, people's attention gets shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. So the content, anything we do to grab the reader's attention has to be very snappy. The attention span has shrunk.
Yes.
How's that impacted Airbnb, Kun Dwang Kwan? Especially in terms of flexibility.
So I think in terms of the flexibility, right? And we all know that, as we speak right now, like many of you are actually working from somewhere else that's not an office. So in terms of the technology, Airbnb is a technology company, is a marketplace. And throughout 2021, we have been preparing ourselves, our product, and our host community to be ready for what we call the travel return of the century. Yes. And only in 2021, this year, we launched over 150 products and services to help our hosts and guests to be ready for the travel rebound of the century. So coming on the point of the flexibility, we know that the guests on Airbnb care a lot about the Wi-Fi because they want to have flexibility in where they work. And in this year, there were more than 280 million searches for Wi-Fi filter on Airbnb. And that's why on the product front, we just announced in November that we launched a tool that is called the Verify Wi-Fi tool. So this tool will allow the host to be able to test that internet connection in the listing directly from Airbnb app. Wow. And the internet speed will appear on the listing. So in this case, the guests will be able to see whether if they check into this listing, will they be able to conduct the Zoom like this smoothly or not? Yeah, so that is to really, or what I say, that we have to adjust to what the world is moving into. I can't really second enough of like what we have to say about the pent-up demand. The international searches for Airbnb stay in Thailand double year over year, just when the government announced the reopening of Thailand to vaccinate the travelers. So I think Thailand is such a beautiful country. The tourists cannot wait to come in. So and as a result of that, we know cross-border travel will resume. And we have already started seeing it in other countries. In November, we also launched another tool that's called the translation engine. So this translation engine is used, it was built by our in-house engineer, and is advanced machine learning translation engine tool that remove the need to click to translate. So we used, of course, there's a lot about translate software, right? But it has to click to translate. So this tool will allow will automatically translate the reviews and the listing descriptions in over 60 languages, including Thai language as well.
Wow. Okay. With all that pent up need to travel here, Kun Boripat, the Standard Hotel, you're kicking off your business. Of course, there's going to be challenges. Especially in terms of, okay, take away the regulations. You're talking about like an industry that has been really blown away in terms of like, skilled workers, people coming back. How do you attract people back? Can you tell us the main challenges you're facing and how you're solving them?
Yep. So for sure, I think you name it. We were opening kind of 2 hotels at the same time in the country. Anything from construction delay because of mandated shutdown, anything from difficulty in sourcing of materials, designers, supply, increased safety and hygiene measure while we're facing tighter budget constraint, hiring issue. I think Vox in the US published a study today, what they call the Great Resignation. I think retail, hospitality are hit pretty hard. People are kind of changing career choices. And just, we like to tap into the international talent pool with, the border being closed. That's definitely a challenge. On the other hand, though, I think I wanted to reflect what Kun Dwang Kwan said as well, what I alluded to earlier. The pent-up demand is there. It is real. And when it rebounds, it does rebound. I mentioned earlier in the US, it has already rebounded. We're opening our hotel in a few weeks. Bookings are already coming in very fast. Thank you, the government, for the We Travel Together campaign. That helps a lot. But if I have full confidence it will come back. And the border hasn't really fully opened yet. Once that fully opens,
Oh my gosh, I'm excited already. Kun Paisit, I just want to wrap up our talk, because we have limited time and maybe we can go on and on. But Kun Paisit, lastly, can you give us, or the people who are listening, advice, suggestions to hotel entrepreneurs, both chain, non-chains, SMEs, as we are trying to reopen, what is your advice?
Yes, I think no matter you're going to use hotel operator chain or not, as per you see that the standard hotels and Airbnb that they have certain products that they don't even own the place, but what they put into their host is the standards. So let's say that if you want to run the hotel, if you have a certain standard that people can understand, and those standards are the standard that will respond to the traveler needs, that's very, very important. So no matter you're going to use chain operator or non-chain operator, if you respond to the needs of the customer, you always, listen to your customer, and always you're looking for things that change. You see that the maybe in the future, traveler who will hop from one destination to the other destination and stay maybe 1 or 2 nights will be less and less. People are going to have more length per stay, for each place, and will demand more space, will demand more kitchen, will demand more certain things that they want to experience in this place, So it is very, very important. So I think that any SME operator, new operators, or even the hotel operator, international brand right now that I'm sit as the owner representative of some of the hotels, we rethink about the whole process. We recheck the whole process, the number of staff, every process that it has been happened for more than 20 years. So this COVID, has been compressed all the human resources, the process, how to give better experience. No matter you are small hotel operator or big hotel operator, you always listen to your guests.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Timothy, for giving us that insight from Agoda. It's really exciting indeed. Thank you to Kun Dong Kwan for that exciting news about the new technology that you're coming out with. And we're so excited to see what's next for Airbnb. Thank you to Kun Boripat for giving us the great news that you are confident in the Thai market. We're so excited to see what's next for your hotels, and I'm very excited indeed to see how it will go. And thank you so much, lastly, to Kun Paisit for giving us your insight. I'm sure everyone has gained a lot of benefits from our talk, and we look forward to seeing more from all of you. Thank you so much, Kapun Ka.
Thank you.
so much.
Bye.